What's going on, Jeromes? So the Minnesota Vikings have the best wide receiver in the National Football League in Justin frickin' Jefferson, and the Vikings should have the best wide receiver duo in the league with Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Now, before people get mad, you know, the whole process has to play out with Jordan Addison, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, it's probably a likelihood that Jordan Addison could be facing some sort of suspension, either from the league or from the team. Now, pending how quickly the legal process plays out or what happens, even if charges are dropped, it is within the team's purview to potentially suspend Addison and send a message, because even if there are no charges here, it's obviously a bad spot, second off season in a row, and for the guy that said let's get paid, taking away one game check, I mean, could send a very strong message and could get him on the right path. But it's whatever. Again, I know that people are gonna get mad, don't care. But also Kwesi. So Kwesi's had himself an offseason. Kwesi's done extremely good things, extending Jefferson, transitioning from Kirk Cousins to J.J. McCarthy / Sam Darnold, rebuilding that defense with Flores. So Kwesi's done some good things here, but wide receiver depth, even before Addison had his incident, wide receiver depth was a question mark. Now, I know that they love Brandon Powell. He's 5'8", just like me, super feisty, not good at pushing the tush, but and ideally, a guy like Jalen Nailor can stay healthy and step up, or Trent Sherfield or Tristan Jackson, or one of the two UDFAs from last year, Thayer Thomas, Malik Knowles, etc. But a wish is not a plan. You know what I mean? And the Vikings, like I said, even before Addison had his thing and is potentially, maybe even likely facing a suspension either from the team or the league, the Vikings should add more contingency plans, right? And the whole thing about it is, if you're going to dream, you may as well dream big, even though I just said like a dream is not a plan or something like that. But Brandon Ayuk. So I said on the video the other day, is like, okay, I would do it. Like, the Vikings have the cap space. Ayuk has already established himself as an elite player. Addison is going to get there, even though Ayuk is 4 years older. But at this point, But also, never underestimate the value of, hey, that guy played well against us scouting. And you look at Cortland Sutton catching the game winner. And also, you look at T. Higgins, who basically took over the fourth quarter of the Vikings-Bengals game. Not that I still have bad memories or anything like that. So Sutton's looking for a new deal. T. Higgins playing out. Well, it's so stupid. The Bengals can't call the franchise tag. They just call it a one-year deal. It's dumb, man. But either way, that would be a similar situation as Brandon Ayuk. Now, would you part ways with Addison? I don't know, man. So you'd be parting ways. Yes, Addison has all the talent in the world. I think Addison can be as good as he wants to be, but he's got to be able to stay on the field, right? And would you trade that for a player that's older and a player that you're going to have to pay elite money with Ayuk or Sutton and or T. Higgins? It's a conversation to have. But now it goes back to Adam, Jerome, Ezekiel Thielen. Now, obviously, spending the summer here, great state of Minnesota, with the Panthers, got the bag, thinks that he's going to win a Super Bowl there. But the Panthers traded for Deontay Johnson, drafted Xavier Leggett, so he could be a wide receiver 3, 4, 5 in Carolina. So why not just, hey, Carolina also has some cap issues. So even though Thielen has $4.5 million guaranteed, why don't you just let him go, and we'll offset some of his base salary this year? No big deal. Also, I'm not advocating Thielen to take the place of Jordan Addison. I'm advocating Thielen to play a little bit of red zone, add some good old man mentorship to this team, as well as provide some wide receiver 3, 4, 5 depth. That's it. It's not going to come in and be a wide receiver 2. But Kwesi, I feel like that there's going to be something here. I just feel it in my bones. But the options aren't ideal. So we got 3 columns: free agents right now, potential trades, and we put Ayuk and Higgins and Sutton sort of like in the pie in the sky section. And then also players who potentially could be cut, who the Vikings could pick up. Now, the annoying thing about potential cuts is that you would have to wait until 53-man cuts right before the start of the season. So you'd miss out on the entire training camp and preseason for getting them up to speed in the system. Now, you could talk about a potential trade, but then there's some other moving parts. The Vikings don't have a ton of draft picks in 2025. It likely would be a swappy swap, like the Vikings 6th for the other team 7th and the player, something like that. But free agents, Michael Thomas, no. Who's had a larger fall off than Michael Thomas over the last couple of years? And also, the Vikings don't run a lot of slants. So what's he going to do here? Renfro's a name that gets tossed around a lot, but Renfro's run blocking and pass blocking has a lot to be desired. But, you know, Robbie Chosen, so formerly Robbie Anderson. So people may laugh at this, but Chosen and Slinging Sam Darnold with the Jets and with the Panthers, like they had a little something. They had a little bit of chemistry going on there. Richie James, I always advocate for Richie James, the pride of Middle Tennessee State, just because I could be like, I'm Rich James, bitch. That's all. And also Treadwell. Wouldn't that be great? So Kwesi loves the medical guys and the former first-round picks who haven't worked out. Mama, I can change him. Treadwell will be the ultimate one. Like, he didn't draft Treadwell. That was a Spielman guy. Come on. And also previous coaching regime. Keenan McCardle, that would be his Michelangelo's David, turning Treadwell into something. As well as, hey, we can move Treadwell to tight end just like N'Keal Harry. Another failed first-round pick. Trade Ayuk, Higgins, and Sutton like we talked about. Potentially trading for Thielen because it would give the Panthers... Basically, you could find like a neutral way to trade for Thielen, like a 2028 6th or 7th round pick swap, and the Vikings would take on Thielen's $4.5 million guaranteed in salary. He's got $5.5 million in his base salary. The Panthers would get some cap space, or hell, Vikings can even get like the Panthers 6th for their 7th, just a premium. Literally just buying cap space, as well as Tutu Atwell, 2021 2nd-round pick with the Rams. Back in the day. Kevin O'Connell was the OC of the Rams in 2021. Now Atwell, the pride of Louisville, as well as son of Gophers legend Tutu Atwell, hasn't really found his spot. Now every single year it's always been like this is the year that Tutu's going to break out. Same thing with Van Jefferson before they got rid of him, but Atwell would be an interesting name. Now potential cuts: Robert Woods with the Texans, he gone. Now, Woods is probably not going to be long for that team, especially with Nico and Tank and now Stephon Diggs. But Woods, so given his experience with the Rams, with Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, would the Vikings entertain a trade with Woods to get him up to speed, get him in the locker room, get him ready to rock and roll to start the season? Maybe. Same thing with Adam Thielen. Also, Anthony Schwartz with the Dolphins. Dolphins' wide receiver room is obviously stacked, and Schwartz was I think it was a 3rd-round pick out of Auburn by the Browns when Kwesi was with Cleveland. So it's something to also, Schwartz is fast. That's about all he's got. KJ. Now, KJ signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with $3.1 million guaranteed with the Patriots, but the Patriots went hard in the paint in the draft for receivers. So could KJ be the odd man out there in New England? So it's like, I'm coming home to the place where I belong, as well as Treylon Burks. Treylon could also fall into the trade category where late-round pick swap. Hasn't worked out. He was supposed to be the replacement for A.J. Brown. Definitely hasn't been that. And also, I've never seen a player get talked about so poorly during the offseason by the coaching staff than Treylon Burks. Like, the Callahans have no time for Treylon. And like, who's going to be the best receiver in Vikings franchise history? Treylon. So, I mean, there's some interesting names out there. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to break the bank. Like, I know that Ayuk and Higgins and Sutton would be a lot of fun, but also that would probably have to include Addison in that trade. And, you know, even though Addison already has 2 strikes against him, it's just like, let's just call it what it is. Talent will always get you 2nd and 3rd and 4th chances. That's how it is, man. But I don't like. It keeps coming back to Thielen. Like, the Vikings were deficient in the red zone last year. Plus, it seems like Thielen is sort of done with Carolina. It's like, I got my money. It's guaranteed. I'm not going to get 100+ targets like I did last year. So why not just come back home? Well, why not? Although I am talking myself into Tutu. So Tutu and Brandon Powell can have a short guy off to see who's going to be pushing the tush. I don't know. Maybe I'll get in there as well, but who knows? But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings need to look to add wide receiver depth. That was even before Jordan Addison had his thing. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But next time, Skol, production value.